Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Tried to make this like 3 times. I hit the slow-mo button. God knows what else cameras film. Just want to give a quick update on this little truck I bought. It's a 2010 Ford Ranger 2.3 automatic base model work truck. You know, vinyl floors, whole 9 yards. Bought this truck, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago. Down the road from me, like within a mile. It was posted on Marketplace. The transmission was messed up. Not sure. Went and looked at it. Super clean body. Interior was dirty, but I could tell it was in good shape. It hadn't been beat on or anything. So I ended up making a deal with the guy, $700 bucks. Brought it home. Sold the topper off of it for $250 the next morning. So I did it $450. Cleaned the truck up pretty good, and then took it to a buddy. Let him look it over and see what he thought. Ended up, he pulled the transmission. He's not a transmission guy per se, but he's pretty mechanically inclined to do a little bit of everything. So he called me and said that it looked like the pump itself was, I guess the splines were kind of ate up and stripped, and the torque converter looked bad. From what I've researched, that's not super uncommon on these transmissions after a couple 100,000 miles. So I opted to, these transmissions ain't cheap for these trucks. The cheapest we could find, low mileage, about $1,800 plus shipping. So they're not cheap. I wasn't gonna pay more for a transmission than I did the truck. So what I ended up doing, after looking around quite a bit, I consulted a buddy of mine who built the transmission of the Mustang. I'll get to that in a little bit. He said he'd just put a pump in it and a torque converter and call it a day. So that's what we did, changed filter, put fluid in it. That next weekend I drove it 550 miles round trip, got 25.8 miles to a gallon. On that trip, it shifts fine, no issues, no weird noises, nothing like that. I've been driving it every day since, back and forth about 70 miles to work. I've got just over 3,000 miles on it since I originally fixed it. The pump and the converter were somewhere, the truck's beating around on the interstate here, in a Cadillac. The truck's somewhere roughly around, the parts were roughly around 480 bucks fluid, which this thing holds like, I don't know, 12, 15 quarts of fluid. So between fluid and parts was like $480 some dollars. So parts and the truck itself, I'm under $1,000 for a clean little truck that I can drive every day. Anybody that's been buying anything on Marketplace now knows that everything has went through the roof. So $1,000 in one of these little trucks is not bad. It's not bad. I've had, I don't know, probably 15 of these little trucks over the years, short wheelbase, 2-wheel drives. They work great for me. Just to drive to work, and I can throw stuff in the back when I need it. They still get decent gas mileage. This little Ranger actually gets the best gas mileage out of anything I've ever owned, truck-wise. I mean, it gets almost 26 miles a gallon on trips. I've been averaging, best I can tell, I've been averaging it every week. It's about 23 miles a gallon average, so that's not terrible. I can handle that. Of course, it's not on speed demon, but I'm running 70, plus right now down the interstate. It's running right on. Truck is in good shape. It has power steering, power brakes, and AC. That's the only thing I care about. I don't care about anything else. I can handle the manual locks and roll-up windows. Matter of fact, I really prefer them on a daily driver. It has vinyl interior, rubber floor mats. I can just take a hose to it when it gets dirty. So I don't know if I'm going to keep this or not, but very likely I'll end up keeping it just because it does run so well. I changed the oil in it the other day, checked the magnet. Looks perfect. I've seen a few of these trucks on the internet. There's one guy, one of my Mileage Impossible forums, that has 758, I think it is, thousand on the motor and transmission original, which is, I'm sure that's 1 in 10 billion. But that does give me a little hope for these engines. This engine's quiet, doesn't use any oil, doesn't make any unusual sounds. It's got plenty of power for what it is. It's, like I said, it's no speed demon, but it'll get itself up to 80 just fine. Again, not in it a whole lot. The interior of it, I'll try to do this again without hitting, it's not in bad shape. Everything's actually really clean. I got a tire light too much air pressure in one of the tires. But, you know, everything, radio works, air conditioning works, it's ice cold. Steering wheel, I'm going to put a little cover on it because it's got the typical where you put your thumb or your hand. The guy, he probably drove like this. So I'll put a steering wheel cover on it. That's about all I'm going to do to this thing. The outside's pretty clean, and the inside is clean, really. It's really clean. Now I'm just going to drive it for a little bit and see. Update on the Mustang. So, local guy, big shout out to him, Derek Sanders. He's a racer. He's also a transmission builder. He built transmissions for, I don't know, 12, 15 years in the shop and then went out on his own. He was nice enough to take the transmission in and get it back to me. He knows I'm a you know, enthusiast, so I had about a week and a half, 2-week turnaround, which is pretty good for a transmission, you know, shop or guy in general. He called me. I kind of figured this, so, you know, I had said on one of my videos was I at fault. I got to looking, went through my pictures that was kind of bothering me, and I did find that I had flushed that that cooler during the time that I was having the transmission rebuilt. It wouldn't have mattered, to be honest with you, if I had or hadn't, because what I ended up finding out was the guy that I had originally had build this transmission is out of Indianapolis. I had lots of trouble with the guy from day one. I dropped the transmission off. He was supposed to have it, he told me 2 weeks, which sounded great. 3 weeks, 4 weeks went by, didn't hear from him. After 6 weeks, I wrote him. He told me he was having some medical issues. I said, sure, man, keep that thing, let me know, you know. Well, 6 weeks turned into 8, 8 weeks turned into 3 months, 3 months turned into 4 months. At the 5-month mark, I said, hey, man, I really need to get this thing either together or get it back. I understand if you've got some issues, but, you know, I need to get it going. Well, the whole time he's still pumping out transmissions. All these people are still posting that they're getting transmissions running. So on the 6-month mark, I wrote him and said, hey, man, the whole summer's up. I'd like to have my transmission back. Is there any way that's a possibility? And his response was, and I quote, I have taken it apart. It's in buckets. You're more than welcome to come pick it up, but it'll be $650 or it can fucking stay here. Those are his words, not mine. So shit turned south quick. I'm pretty short-tempered when it comes to that kind of stuff. You know, I've done been patient with your dumb ass for months on end, and now you want to be hateful and be a smart ass because you're incompetent. I'm really just, you know, on the fence on whether I'm going to blast this dude all over the internet or not. Sometimes it's just not worth the trouble. But my builder wrote me and said there was a bearing missing on inside the transmission that had to be there. I'm not sure where it's at. I'm not a transmission builder. He said it was completely missing. The clutches that I was charged for were aftermarket. They were stock clutches. There's a lot of things. So the long story short with that, guys, he refused to release it to me. I was going to have to go to small claims court to get my transmission back. The case had my sensors and my, you know, Stiflers, drive shaft loop. It had all that stuff on it. So I wasn't about to lose my whole transmission. It had my deep pan. It had everything. So I ended up letting this guy rebuild it. I don't know how much it was, $1,800 then. But, you know, the car's, it's drove, it's been, you know, 1003. But it's kind of scary to think I went 1003 with parts missing out of the transmission, you know. And I'm sure the guy did it on purpose. Usually I'm always forgiving somebody the benefit of the doubt, but the guy was such a dick. He wouldn't even let me come pick it up. He had to have me have somebody come pick it up. You know, whatever. Karma's a bitch. It'll get him. That's a fact. It always happens. It might take a while, but karma will get this guy. So, you know, the guy that just rebuilt it put, you know, aftermarket clutches in it. He fixed all the issues, fixed what needed to be fixed. I was out $900. I think that's a fair price for a transmission rebuild. I went ahead and put new lines and a new, bigger transmission cooler on it. I never had any trouble with overheating, though. The transmission never ran over about 185 degrees ever. So, you know, it is what it is. I got what I got. You know, I've debated on taking this guy to small claims court over this transmission. It's been a while, so probably won't have no luck with that. But yeah, I'm probably just going to chalk this up to a lesson learned, to be honest with you. So I will say this: if you're going to have something done to your car, try to do it locally, because I messed up, took mine 3 hours away out of recommendations on other people, and I'll never do that again. At least if it's local, you can go check on it or get your stuff back. When you're 3 hours away, it makes it a little more difficult. So I'll never take my car somewhere where I can't go check on it, or my transmission, or anything like that. You're just kind of at their mercy when you're that far away, and they know it. So I've got the car on the ground, the car's running, I've topped the fluids off. I'm going to take it down the road and drive it a little bit and recheck the fluids. And then the next few videos that I post after this, honestly, I'm going to try to get some actual driving videos, some full pulls in, not just driving down the road, but actually some actual full throttle pulls in, see how this thing does. Get some videos for y'all, maybe even a few races. But I do want to change it up a little bit. So I appreciate you all following. Thanks for all the support. If you're not subscribed, please do. It's what keeps us coming back. Thank you guys.